It's the dynamic things of nature that we are missing, that we are failing to understand.
Grain, really, production of corn and soybeans is killing America. It's eroding 75% of our topsoil is gone. Jared Diamond says every culture that collapses because they kill their topsoil. And it's all down in the Gulf of Mexico.
If you take overgrazing, which is very critical to understand, the belief of range science, the belief of the world is that overgrazing is due to too many animals. Now, 50 years ago, this was discovered to be untrue. Good, solid science by a Frenchman.
What is the most natural thing for animals? Animal natural behavior is to go out and graze.
This herbivore-pasture relationship has been built in from design.
If you look at the Midwest, where most of the corn and soybeans are grown, the great bulk of it is fed to animals. If they were out on pasture, we would need far less grain.
Perennial grasses had this amazing ability that when they were eaten down by an herbivore or they were burned off by a fire, that there would be a corresponding contraction of the roots in the soil profile. So they were always oscillating, contracting and expanding, which meant they were building soil, which is carbon sequestration.
Just 1 or 2% more organic matter in the soil would sequester all the nasty carbon that we put up there. Let's put it back in the earth where it belongs. What does that better than grass? Nothing.
You got a very healthy biological system going there with the animal waste, the hoofs, the soil, the microbes, the sun, and you're actually building topsoil. That's where the prairie land came from.
In America, we have all these cattle that are out on grass, they're having a good old time, and then the last 180 days of their life, they're put into the feedlot. The feedlot is confinement, and they're not on grass anymore. They're standing on concrete, usually, or mud, and all the excrement gets mixed in there, and a lot of times you'll see them knee-deep in excrement. So now we have E. coli, O157. We have toxic germs. You have to cook your hamburger to death.
If they don't slaughter them on schedule, in another week or so, half of them will fall dead on them. You think that's good protein for the American people?
They would spit out the bite of meat in their mouth if they could see what I see as a veterinarian. It's nauseating and it's cruel and unnecessary.
A major thing that happened in the UK is that mad cow disease happened in 1995-96, and we all got angry. Even those of us that weren't involved with the food chain, we had thought that regulations had protected our families, and all of a sudden we were aware that maybe not. Maybe there's an enormous mushrooming health problem that's going to hit our children as they get older, and there's nothing we can do about it.
The government cannot be relied on to protect us from bad food.
No offence to any government, whether it's the EU, the UK government, or the US and the USDA, you cannot rely on government to protect the integrity of organic standards. They will inevitably be diluted by political and commercial forces.
It's that revolving door. A lot of the food giants are in the government regulatory industries that are supposed to protect us.
Governments have a role, but actually we have to take the future into our own hands and make it happen, and take that responsibility on ourselves.
The real issue is to get the consumers educated and be demanding, and they drive this ship. They drive the ship all the way.
What people don't realize is that you vote with your fork. When you buy food, you're voting for that type of food production.
They stop buying those tomatoes. Can't sell them, so they won't produce them.
We have so much power as consumers. If we get angry and we say, I don't want that, I do want that, it shifts. It shifts faster than the government can shift, faster than the regulators, faster than the health authorities.
We have now something to say about the whole of the future of agriculture, not just organic food and farming.
Organic isn't the end of the road. He said, well, then why would I buy organic? I said, you're buying organic because you're supporting a method of farming that'll get better as it gets older.
It's about deeper values which connect the way we farm the soil to our health and the health of the planet.
It really comes down to, food is sacred. I think all peoples understood that to a large extent in history, but we've really kind of forgotten that.
Now, how quick can we turn around our practices and preserve the soil and the soil biota that we have left, so we have a sustainable system for the long term?
What have we handed our children? How much of a miserable failure of a society have we been? And how fast do we have to change if we want to stay here?
The planet will last longer than us. That's not a problem. Like People say, I mean, you know, the planet doesn't need human beings, but the human being needs the planet.
What is the story you believe in? What is the creation myth that holds power for you? Is the planet a community or a commodity? What's that story? And can you restory your connection to place and implement it pragmatically to get to restoration? And that's an interesting conundrum for the future.
We need each other. We need big agriculture and small agriculture, and we've got to work out how we sustain civilizations. If we don't, the future is grim indeed.
And no one takes too much, and no one's fool enough to touch the dark sea.